Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about draft national retail trade policy. Now, the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, that is DPIIT, has sought the views of 16 departments and ministries on its draft national retail trade policy. According to reports, this policy would focus on formulating strategies to provide a globally competitive and sustainable environment for the overall development of retail trade through targeted efforts. India is the world's fifth largest global destination in the retail space. According to a report of Boston Consulting Group and Retailers Association of India released earlier this year, the retail industry is likely to see 10% annual growth to reach about $2 trillion by 2032. Another report by CII-Kearney released in 2020, a cohesive national retail policy can help generate approximately 30 lakh more jobs by 2024. So what are the key aspects of this draft policy and what more needs to be done to realize these goals? For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us Dr. S.P. Sharma here in the studio. He's the Chief Economist and Director of Research at PST Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Welcome, Dr. Sharma, to our studios. We also have with us Dr. Subhash Chandra Pandey, who's joining us. He's the former Special Secretary and Financial Advisor with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in the Government of India. And Mr. Praveen Khandelwal, Secretary General of the Confederation of All India Traders, that is CIIT, is also with us. Welcome, both of you gentlemen, also to Sansad Television. I'll begin with you, Dr. Sharma, and let's start by taking a look at some key aspects of this policy, this draft retail trade policy. What does it seeks to address, and in what ways?
As you mentioned, that India is the fifth largest retail destination. That's why the government is now coming out with a major robust policy for the retail sector to make it more and more competitive, so that more and more jobs are created in this sector. As India is a fastest growing economy and we have a lot of demand, domestic demand particularly, which is growing at a larger scale. So now we have to support this demand with more and more formal businesses and more ease of doing business, not only for the large conglomerates but for the retailers also. So that is the I think focus of the government, which is very much mentioned in the draft policy, that we have to increase the competitiveness of the enterprises and to make it more robust and to make it sustainable in the coming times. So that is the thrust of the government to come out with this draft policy, and I think this will create a major ease of doing business at the grassroots level, because retail sector is growing at a faster rate. Like you mentioned, that more than 10% is the growth rate anticipated, and we will become a $2 trillion retail economy in the next 10 years. That will create millions of jobs. That is true, but we have to come out with a significant policy which the government has already drafted for the growth of the economy. I think this is a great development, and we are happy that this is coming at a critical juncture where we have to create and support our demand trajectory to make our growth rate sustainable, which is the fastest moving at this juncture right now.
Okay. So there's a lot of potential for growth here, and therefore need to address various aspects. Let me bring in Dr. Subhash Chandra Pandey here. Dr. Pandey, as per your analysis, what are the key challenges when we are looking at the retail trade sector? Because this is something which has been there. The sector has been functioning for a very, very long time. There have been demands for and cohesive policy as well. But what are the key challenges which need to be addressed through either this policy or perhaps an improved draft or some other changes which comes in after all the suggestions are given?
Okay, so let me first point out that as per the recent data of up to November, the April to November retail sales were almost 21% more than the pre-pandemic level in 2019. And these were retained by the quick service restaurant, footwear, etc., all most of the sector. And this recovery was almost in all regions, something in the range of 18 to 22% or so. So and the bulk of this market is unorganized retail. So in terms of the challenges, I see two aspects of it clearly. One is the linkage of this policy with other policies Firstly, the product and service specific regulatory policies about merchandise and scope. The labor policy, ease of doing business policy, for example, in terms of labor laws implementation for unorganized sector, for the delivery staff, etc. And for the unorganized retail sector, the digitalization and formalization, bringing them into that stream where they can be using the digital means for accepting digital payments. And there is a shop floor automation, easy accounting software, etc. So, and of course, the affordable credit, easy and affordable credit. All these are interlinked as the sales histories are built around digital payment systems. The credit history is created and there will be increased credit flow. So the credit policy, labor policy, ease of doing business policy, integration of all these things will be in there. And not to leave aside the policy, which is at the municipal level, the policy for example, for street hawkers, etc., which is a significant component of the unorganized retail.
Okay. So all levels of the government will have to work in tandem with each other to put in place, a holistic policy out there, as Dr. Pandey is pointing out. Mr. Khandelwal, let's also hear it from the industry's perspective, from the traders' point of view as well. What is it that the traders are looking forward to when we talk about, the retail trade sector in terms of various aspects of finance, infrastructure, technology are some points which, Dr. Pandey referred to. But according to the traders, what are the basic issues which should be addressed first?
Well, let me first correct Mr. Pandey that there is nothing called unorganized. We are self-organized.
Okay.
So I will request the panelists not to call us unorganized. We are the most self-organized supply chain in the world, not only in India, but across the world. So from Ladakh to Kanyakumari, we have a structure. So that is why we are self-organized. That is point number one. Point number two is we do have so much hope from this national retail trade policy, because we are pursuing this policy since year 2014, when Mr. Modi came to one of our function where we requested Mr. Modi to give us not only the retail policy but also e-commerce policy and rules for e-commerce. So for this reason, we welcome, and this national retail trade policy must lay down the fundamentals and parameters under which the retail trade will function. One another aspect is that retail trade has four verticals. One is corporate retail, one is non-corporate retail, which is you can call us the self-organized people as non-corporate retail.
Okay.
Then e-commerce and direct selling. So these all four verticals of the retail trade should have a holistic and homogeneous policy under which they work independently, but they should not encroach upon the area of one another, which is presently is very much we are looking at. And also under this policy, how the finances will be available to the traders. This is another big question. As the Prime Minister has called one nation, one tax, we have given a suggestion that one nation, one license. We have more than 22 types of licenses, and when everything is e-based, then all the licenses should be abolished with one license. So it should also come under the purview of this national retail trade policy. The requirement of infrastructure building in commercial markets. There has to be a mandate to the state governments and the local self-governments that in what way the markets can grow, because we have to develop more business avenues in India, and if we go by a report, still 80% of the retail trade is being conducted by traditional retailers, these self-organized people.
Okay.
So unfortunately, since last more than 75 years, it was only the retail trade which was neither having a ministry nor having a policy. So at least now DPIIT is looking after. We are very happy, and this national trade policy, if it comes, which
Okay.
I hope very soon it will come, so it will lay down the parameters under which the retail trade will function.
Okay.
And I'm sure, of course, the upgradation and modernization of existing retail format of business, plus various other things, will be a part of this retail trade policy. We have already submitted our suggestion long back to Honorable Minister, to DPIIT, and other people also. So very keenly, we are looking at this policy. But
Okay.
in the last, I would like to say, bringing out only national retail policy will be a half-baked exercise, because unless and until we have a e-commerce policy, we have a e-commerce rules, this national trade policy will not serve its purpose. And today we have given a suggestion that that out of total retail trade, not more than 20% should be traded on e-commerce. So
Okay.
these are all my initial points.
Okay, okay. Dr. Sharma, Mr. Khandelwal has pointed out various concerns vis-a-vis, the traders community, for them, retail traders rather, for whom the policy is being drafted right now, and some key aspects there. Of course, the confluence of online and offline trade is one important aspect. E-commerce and, the retail, other retail traders. But in addition to that, what kind of expectations or reactions from the industry which you believe are there and should be taken on board?
Yes, I totally agree with Mr. Khandelwal, because there must be homogeneous policy for all the four segments which he has mentioned. And that will create more synchronization of the business and deepen the business's trajectory in the coming times to create more and more employment opportunities for the growing young population, and particularly in the rural segments. But the concerns from the industry are there that there must be one license only. Now, there are multiple licenses required, and for the multiple purposes. Like if some corporate is opening 100 retail segments, then he has to apply for the 100. So that must be for one single license only, that he or she can open anywhere on that particular basis of that particular license. Because if there are 10 norms and they are ready to open 100 retail segments, then 10 into 100, they have to fulfill the 1,000 requirements of the licenses. And again, for the renewal for 1 year or 2 years, then again the same process again starts. That becomes more and more tedious and hamper the business trajectory and the ease of doing business. So our suggestion is that there is a need of ease of doing business for the retail segment. Licenses should not be required again and again from a particular entity. If the license is provided at a single time, that should work throughout India. One nation, one license and one norm. That is the requirement of the industry at this juncture, which we have received from our member segment on this draft policy.
Okay.
And as mentioned by Mr. Khandelwal, that this segment is very, very important for the growth of the economy, because this is a strength from the grassroots that can sustain the trajectory, that can strengthen the trajectory of Indian economy. So we have to make it more and more investor friendly and consumer friendly, so that people are coming to invest in this segment, which can create millions of employment opportunities for the many people, which is a requirement at this juncture for the Indian economy to move forward and to become more and more prominent in the global charts with more and more competitiveness, as employment is at the radar and at the thrust of the government, so that people are happy, they are able to get their jobs, and the retail segment is strong, and the people are able to get the self-employment opportunities, which is a great thing, which is always spoken by many bureaucrats, policy makers, and the thinkers that we have to create the self-employment opportunities for the growth of the economy, so that the job requirement becomes self-sustainable for the masses. So that is the thrust. So I believe all the such kind of like licenses related problems are still there, though those has to be removed from the system, and so that the ease of doing business becomes more and more prominent, particularly for the small businesses, retail businesses, and they are able to contribute more in the growth of the GDP, and Indian economy really becomes a 5 trillion and 10 trillion economy in the coming times.
Okay, indeed, that's the ultimate goal and motive out there, as you're pointing out, Dr. Sharma. But let me bring in, Dr. Pandey again here as well. Dr. Pandey, few aspects, and of course, you spoke about the issue of finance, the issue of infrastructure, and Mr. Khandelwal referred to the issue of one nation, one license, the process of license, licensing, ease of doing business as well. But another very key important aspect here is striking that balance between e-commerce and retail trade as well. Both policies, being complementary to each other, and ensuring that both sectors can work in a homogeneous fashion. So how does that happen, and what are the key challenges here in this aspect?
Sure. One thing is that I think at a policy level or government level, it may not be feasible to prescriptively lay down any quotas that how much could be, whether 80, 20, 70, 30 or whatever is it, because that would remain market driven. From a policy perspective, what is of importance is to see that the consumer friendly behavior, and the e-commerce platforms are vendor neutral. So in that direction, for example, government has taken a big initiative in developing open network for digital commerce, and one district, one product, and such other initiative, where e-commerce is generating additional demand. So then it is not a question of one's online eating offline sale, but to the extent online is creating additional aggregate demand in the economy, it is welcome. And e-commerce portals must not have discriminatory policies. They must have like a net neutrality. As a platform service providers, they are vendor neutral and they take care of the consumer interest. So as a government, those will be the overriding policy concern. And then, of course, a related issue is about the gig, when it is a gig economy, the online, it involves the delivery business to the ultimate end, and therefore the labor laws applicable to gig economy.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Khandelwal, your views on this aspect, because you pointed out one concern there and said that, your association has given its demand to the government or to the policy makers as well, vis-a-vis how to strike that balance between e-commerce players and retail trade segment as well. How can we find that balance? That's one. And two, in addition to that, very important aspect is bringing in more investment, bringing in more finances, because when that happens, then the growth will be more easy, and then will bring in the required results, specifically in terms of more employment opportunities.
Well, I do agree with you, and let me make it very clear that the business community of the country is not against e-commerce. Rather, we are promoting our offline traders to go online as well. And as a matter of fact, within a couple of months, we are launching the traders' own e-commerce portal, that is Bharat E-Mart, mere liye, mere desh ke liye. Maybe by the end of February. So, labeling us that we are anti e-commerce is something which is not acceptable at all. But yes, unless and until you have a policy, unless and until you have some kind of rules. Today, for e-commerce, we have only FDI policy, press note number 2 of 2018. And all these foreign funded e-commerce companies, we all pretty well know that they are highly violating each and every provision of the FDI policy, which says predatory pricing, deep discounting, loss funding, owing inventory, they will not do. And also, it has been written in that policy document that it will be their responsibility to maintain even level playing field. So at a time when you are giving high discounts, so you are making the market non-competitive, and three people. One is the portal, another is the brand owners, and the third one is the banks. The three are having a unholy nexus because of the fact that there are several brand companies which are giving their certain products to the portals exclusively.
Okay.
And there are banks also who are giving cashbacks for their cards which are being transacted only in online. If the same card is transacted in offline, they are not giving that cashback. So that means all these three people have joined hands together to make an uneven level playing field. We have already complained to to RBI and to the government, and we will not allow this nexus to go on. Yes, if there is an even level playing field, let e-commerce policy be there. Let Consumer Protection Act e-commerce rules should be there, and everyone should be adhered to. One most important thing is, unless and until, and I think my both other panelists will agree with me, unless and until we have a empowered regulatory authority, we cannot have these companies tied within the structure of the law. We have seen that in stock market, SEBI has done a wonderful job. In telecommunication, TRI has done a wonderful job. And before that, there was total chaos. So likewise, e-commerce is certainly going to be the future mode of business. No doubt about it. And we also want to have our business on e-commerce. But yes, there has to be a robust e-commerce policy and e-commerce rules and a regulatory authority.
Okay. Let me take that for a concluding comment to Dr. Sharma here as well. Dr. Sharma, this is a very important point because both are key segments, and as Mr. Khandelwal himself pointed out, e-commerce is the future. But then, striking that balance between e-commerce and retail trading, retail traders as well, retail trade sector specifically. How do we achieve that? That's one. And two, the idea of having a regulatory authority.
Yes, I agree that policies must be calibrated because we have a great environment and we have different segments. We can't ignore any segment. So we have to create synchronization, and policy should not be counterproductive. Like if somewhere is policy for the e-commerce and that is counterproductive for the retail business, that should not work and will be hampering the business trajectory. So I think calibrated steps for the policy environments are needed because we have a great consumer market and we have a lot of segments. We can't ignore the domestic investors and the international investors also. We have to create a conducive environment for both the segments so that a level playing field is there, nobody is impacted, and policies are synchronized and policies are calibrated according to the existing environment in India, so that nothing is hampering each other and all are moving in tandem with a great growth trajectory. Like the e-commerce is a great business, and that is giving a big push to the Indian economy also, and creating a lot of employment opportunities also. Like the direct selling business also, that they are also creating so much self-employment opportunities, and retail is of course a leader in all these segments and providing so much growth momentum to the economy. So we have to come out with the calibrated environment, and the policies must be very, very conducive and synchronized for the growth of the economy and employment creation and level playing field in the country.
Okay. So there it is. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, Mr. Khandelwal, and Dr. Pandey as well for sharing your views and insight with us and our viewers, as our experts were pointing out various aspects of the draft national retail trade policy, key issues to be addressed, challenges to be tackled, and how there can be a holistic policy in place for the retail trade sector, and also addressing various concerns vis-a-vis e-commerce and bringing in better finances, better technology solutions, and putting in a robust infrastructure also. We'll keep a close watch on all the developments here and come back again. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.